The massive white hull of the USNS Mercy II gleamed against the backdrop of distant stars. Captain Lisa Murphy stood at the bridge's main viewport, her gray eyes scanning the darkness of space. The hospital ship's red cross marking glowed softly, a beacon of hope for anyone in need of medical assistance. "Captain, we're picking up unusual readings from Sector 7, said Lieutenant Eric Collins from his station. His fingers moved quickly across the holographic display as he analyzed the data. Lisa walked over to his console, her boots making soft sounds on the polished floor. The readings showed several large objects moving at high speed toward their position. She had spent 15 years in deep space medical missions, but she had never seen patterns like these before. "Dr. Walsh to the bridge," she called through the ship's comm system. Within minutes, Peter Walsh arrived, still wearing his white medical coat. The chief medical officer's usually calm face showed concern as he looked at the readings. "We've got 300 patients in treatment right now," Peter said, running a hand through his graying hair, "including the survivors from that mining colony accident we picked up yesterday." Lisa nodded. The Mercy II had been designed to handle large-scale medical emergencies, with 25 operation rooms and facilities for up to 1,000 patients. Right now, they were carrying injured miners, sick colonists, and even a few alien species who had requested Earth's advanced medical help. The strange readings suddenly multiplied. Eric's console lit up with warning signals. "Captain, multiple ships just dropped out of faster-than-light travel. They're massive." The view outside the bridge window changed as huge bioorganic ships appeared. Their hulls looked like they were made of living tissue, covered in patterns that pulsed with an eerie purple light. Lisa had never seen anything like them in all her years of space travel. "This is Captain Lisa Murphy of the USNS Mercy II, an Earth medical vessel. We are on a peaceful mission. Please identify yourselves," she broadcast on all frequencies. The response came in a harsh, clicking language that the ship's computer quickly translated. "Earth vessel, you will power down your biological warfare systems immediately. Your attempts to spread your corrupt healing practices end here." Peter's face went pale. "Biological warfare. They think we're weapons." Before Lisa could respond, the alien ships launched what looked like glowing purple pods toward the Mercy II. The hospital ship's shields activated automatically, their blue energy field flickering as the pods exploded against them. "Shields at 80%, Eric shouted. "They're targeting our medical base." Lisa grabbed the ship-wide comm. "All medical staff, begin emergency patient evacuation procedures. Move all critical cases to the inner chambers." This is not a drill. Through the chaos, Peter studied the sensor readings of the alien ships. "Captain, look at this. They're ships. They're literally alive. The hull is made of living tissue. And these readings, they don't have a single medical facility on board. Not one." Lisa's mind raced as she coordinated the ship's defensive measures. The Mercy I wasn't a warship. Its shields were designed to protect against space debris and radiation, not weapons. They needed to buy time to protect their patients. "Eric, send out our medical drones. Program them to create a defensive screen," she ordered. The small robots, usually used for remote diagnosis and emergency care, spread out around the ship like a swarm of metallic insects. More ships appearing. Eric's voice cracked with tension. "They're launching another attack." The bridge crew watched in horror as more alien vessels emerged from faster-than-light travel. The Mercy I shuddered as another barrage hit their shields. Warning alarms blared throughout the ship. "Shields at 60%, the computer announced calmly. "Warning, Medical Bay 3 has lost power." Lisa gripped her command chair tightly. These aliens, whoever they were, saw Earth's ability to heal as something evil, something to be destroyed. How could they defend themselves against an enemy that feared the very act of helping others? Peter's voice cut through her thoughts. "Captain, I think I know why they're attacking us. These beings, their cellular structure must be completely different from ours. They probably heal automatically, without any need for medical intervention. Our entire concept of medicine might seem like an abomination to them. Lisa looked at the massive alien fleet surrounding her hospital ship. Somewhere in the universe, evolution had created a species that saw healing as corruption and medicine as a weapon. And now her ship, dedicated to saving lives, had to find a way to survive their fear and hatred. Commander Amy Patterson crouched in the dim light of the backup medical lab, her eyes fixed on the holographic display floating above the examination table. The alien tissue sample pulsed with an inner light, revealing secrets about their mysterious attackers. "Sam, you need to see this," she called to Samuel Martinez, the head nurse who had been helping her analyze the sample they'd collected from a piece of debris. Sam walked over, his dark eyes widening as he saw the cellular structure moving on the display. "That's impossible," he whispered, leaning closer. "The cells are regenerating themselves instantly. No wonder they don't have medical facilities." Amy nodded, her short blonde hair catching the blue light from the hologram. "Their entire biology is built around automatic healing. Look at how the DNA repairs itself. It's like nothing we've ever seen before." The ship shuddered again as another blast hit their shields. They had been under attack for 6 hours now, and the Mercy Aya's defenses were barely holding. Through the lab's small window, they could see more alien ships arriving, their living hulls pulsing with that strange purple light. Sam pulled up the ship's communication logs on a nearby screen. "I've been monitoring their broadcasts. They're calling us life twisters and nature corruptors. Their propaganda says we're trying to spread our biological manipulation across the galaxy." A soft chime announced someone at the door. Dr. Peter Walsh entered, looking tired but determined. "Any progress?" he asked, walking over to examine their findings. Amy pointed to specific parts of the hologram. "These beings, the Krothak, they evolved without any need for external medical care. Their bodies heal almost instantly from any injury. But look at this." She zoomed in on a particular cellular structure. "When exposed to our medical nanites, their cells react with something like panic. It's as if their very biology sees our medicine as an attack." "That explains their fear," Peter said, rubbing his chin thoughtfully. "Imagine if you encountered a species that deliberately damaged and repaired their bodies. To them, every surgery we perform must seem like torture." The ship's intercom crackled to life with Captain Murphy's voice. "All personnel, prepare for emergency maneuvers. They're trying to target our medical supply storage." Sam quickly secured loose equipment as the ship began to move. "We've got to find a way to show them we're not their enemy. There must be something in their biology, their culture, that we can use to communicate." Amy suddenly straightened up, her eyes bright with realization. "What if we're looking at this wrong? They're ships. They're made of living tissue. They must have some way of controlling that growth, some way of directing how their biological technology develops." She quickly pulled up scans of the alien vessels. "Look here. These aren't just ships. They're enormous living organisms. The Krothak aren't just letting them grow randomly. They're guiding their development, shaping their growth. Isn't that a form of medical intervention?" Peter's tired face broke into a smile. "They're doctors too. They just don't realize it. Their entire civilization is built on biological manipulation, just in a different way than ours." The lab's emergency lights suddenly flashed red. Sam checked the nearest display. "They're broadcasting something new, some kind of warning to other ships in the sector. They're saying Earth's hospital ships are spreading across the galaxy, infiltrating alien worlds with our corrupt healing practices." Through the window, they could see more Krothak ships emerging from faster-than-light travel. Their massive forms blocked out the stars, creating an artificial night around the Mercy Eye. "We need to get this information to the captain," Amy said, quickly downloading their findings. "If we can prove to them that they're not so different from us, maybe we can stop this war before it spreads." As they hurried toward the bridge, the ship shook again. The Krothak were changing their attack pattern, now targeting the ship's communication arrays. They were trying to isolate the Mercy Eye to prevent it from calling for help or spreading its corruption to others. But in their discovery about the Krothak's living ships, Amy and her team had found something more valuable than any weapon. They had found common ground. Now they just had to survive long enough to use it. Captain Lisa Murphy stood in the emergency command center of the Mercy II, surrounded by holographic displays showing the positions of nearby hospital ships. The USNS Hope floated 3,000 kilometers to their right, its white hull scarred from recent attacks. The USNS Comfort II had just arrived from the Perseus sector, taking up position on their left flank. "The Krothak are holding back," Lieutenant John Carter said, pointing to the alien fleet's formation. His fingers traced patterns in the air, highlighting the enemy positions. "They're trying to box us in, keep us from jumping to faster-than-light speed." Lisa studied the tactical display. The 3 hospital ships were surrounded by the massive living vessels of the Krothak. More alien ships arrived every hour, their biological hulls pulsing with that strange purple energy. "Captain," Eric Collins called from his station, "I finished modifying the medical drones like Lieutenant Carter suggested. We've got about 200 ready to launch." John stepped forward, his brown eyes intense as he explained his plan. "These drones usually deliver medicine and perform simple surgeries, but I've reprogrammed them to create a defensive screen. They'll project the same bioshields we use in our isolation wards." Lisa nodded. It was a clever idea. The bioshields were designed to contain diseases and protect patients. Now they might help protect the ships themselves. The bridge door slid open as Dr. Peter Walsh rushed in. "Captain, we've converted Operation Room 12 into an emergency shield generator. The surgical lasers are now helping power our defensive systems." "Good work," Lisa said. She turned to address the entire bridge crew. "Remember, we're not here to fight. Our mission is to protect our patients and show the Krothak that we're not their enemy." The ship's communication system crackled with an incoming message. The face of Captain Maria Rodriguez from the USNS Hope appeared on the main screen. "Mercy II, we're picking up unusual energy readings from the alien fleet. They might be preparing for another attack." "Confirmed," Captain Steve Anderson of the Comfort II added, his image joining the discussion. "My science team says they're charging some kind of biological weapon." Lisa quickly made her decision. "Launch the medical drones. Form a triangle defense pattern between our ships. Priority is protecting the patient wards." John activated the drone launch sequence. Through the bridge windows, they watched as hundreds of small white drones flew out from all 3 hospital ships. The machines, each marked with a red cross, formed a web-like pattern in space. The Krothak ships reacted immediately. Purple energy bolts shot out from their living hulls, but the drone's bioshields activated just in time. The energy scattered harmlessly across the protective barrier. "It's working," Eric shouted. "The shields are holding." But their success was short-lived. The alien ships began to pulse with a new pattern of light. Their hulls stretched and changed shape, growing what looked like organic cannon barrels. "They're adapting," John said, his voice tense. "Their ships are literally evolving new weapons to fight us." Lisa grabbed the ship-wide comm. "All medical staff, begin converting more equipment for defense. Use everything we have. Scanners, surgical tools, anything that can be modified. But remember, no lethal weapons. We're here to heal, not harm." The 3 hospital ships moved closer together, their drone screen tightening around them. Inside the Mercy II, crews of doctors and nurses worked quickly to transform medical equipment into defensive tools. They turned diagnostic scanners into sensor jammers and converted quarantine fields into shield boosters. Through it all, Lisa kept her eyes on the massive alien fleet. The Krothak ships were still evolving, their living hulls reshaping themselves for war. But she saw something else too. Some of the alien ships seemed to be holding back, watching. Maybe they were curious about why these human vessels refused to fight back. "Keep broadcasting on all frequencies," she ordered. "Send them everything we have about our medical missions, our history of helping all species. Show them what we really are." As she spoke, the Krathak fleet began to move. The next wave of attacks was coming, and this time, their organically grown weapons would be even stronger. But Lisa allowed herself a small smile. The hospital ships had found their defense, using the very tools of healing that the Krathak feared. Now they just had to survive long enough to make them understand. The battle had been raging for 12 hours when everything changed. Lieutenant Eric Collins noticed it first, a small Krathak scout ship drifting away from the main fleet. Its living hull was darker than the others, almost black in some places. "Captain, that scout ship. I think it's injured," Eric said, pointing to the readings on his screen. The biological vessel's life signs were getting weaker by the minute. Captain Lisa Murphy studied the dying ship through the Mercy Aya's main viewport. The scout was trying to move away from the battle, but its movements were jerky and uncontrolled. Purple energy leaked from its hull like blood from a wound. "Dr. Walsh to the bridge, immediately," she called over the comm. When Peter arrived, she showed him the readings. "Can we help them?" Peter's eyes widened as he analyzed the data. Their ship is alive, really alive, and it's suffering from something like a massive infection. Their own weapons must have backfired, damaged the living tissue somehow. The scout ship sent out a weak distress signal. The computer translated its message. Hull integrity failing. Cellular decay spreading. Request emergency assistance. Lisa looked at her crew. They had been under attack by these same aliens for hours, but now one of their ships was dying. The choice seemed clear to her, but she needed her crew's support. "I know they're our enemies," she said, "but they need help. That's what we do. That's who we are." Sam Martinez, who had come to the bridge with Dr. Walsh, stepped forward. "I'll prepare the emergency treatment bay. We might need to adapt our procedures for their biology, but we can do it." The Krathak fleet had noticed their wounded scout too. Several larger ships moved toward it, but they were too far away. The scout's hull was turning darker by the second. "Launch Rescue Shuttle 3, Lisa ordered. "Dr. Walsh, Nurse Martinez, you're with me. Lieutenant Carter, you have the bridge." Minutes later, they were approaching the dying scout ship in their small medical shuttle. Up close, the damage looked even worse. The living hull was covered in what looked like dark bruises, spreading rapidly across its surface. "Their biological weapons affected their own ship's tissue," Peter said, scanning the hull. "It's like an autoimmune response gone wrong. The ship is attacking itself." They found an entry point, something like an airlock made of muscle tissue. Sam took readings of the atmosphere inside. "We can breathe their air, but we'll need protective suits to avoid contamination." Inside the scout ship, they found 5 Krathak crew members. The aliens were tall, with iridescent scales and multiple arms. They backed away in fear when they saw the humans enter, their scales changing color rapidly. Peter held up his hands to show he was unarmed. "We're here to help," he said, letting the translator convert his words. "Your ship is dying. Let us save it." The Krathak commander, who introduced himself as Sub-Commander Zextel, seemed confused. "You would heal us after we attacked you." "Of course," Sam said, already setting up his medical equipment. "That's what we do. That's what medicine means." They worked for hours, using modified treatments to help the living ship's tissue heal itself. Peter and Sam had to invent new procedures on the spot, combining their knowledge of human medicine with what they learned about Krathak biology. Gradually, the dark patches on the hull began to fade. The ship's life signs grew stronger. The Krathak crew watched in amazement as their vessel began to heal. "I don't understand," Zextel said, his scales now a calm blue color. "Our leaders said you used healing as a weapon. But you helped us. You fixed our ship when you could have let it die." Lisa smiled. "That's what hospital ships are for. We help anyone who needs it, no matter who they are, even if they were shooting at us a few hours ago." Through the shuttle's windows, they could see the main Krathak fleet holding position, watching. Something had changed. The rescued scout ship was broadcasting to them. telling them what had happened. And for the first time since the battle began, there was hope for understanding. The moment of peace didn't last long. A massive wave of energy rippled through space as hundreds of new Krathak warships appeared. These ships were different. Their living hulls were covered in what looked like organic armor, grown specifically for war. All hands, battle stations, Captain Lisa Murphy called through the HFY's comm system. They're targeting Earth's medical installations. This is not a drill. The rescued sub-commander Zextal stood on the bridge, his scales turning a pale yellow color that Dr. Walsh had learned meant distress. "Those are the war fleet vessels," he said. "They won't listen to reason. They'd been bioengineered for combat only." Eric Collins' hands flew across his console as he tracked the new threats. "They're moving to attack positions. At least 30 ships are heading toward the civilian medical station in Sector 4. Lisa turned to Dr. Peter Walsh. "Get those modified medical drones ready. All of them." She then looked at Zextal. "Will you help us? Your people need to understand what we really are." The Krathak commander nodded, his scales shifting to a determined blue color. He moved to the communication station and began broadcasting in his own language. Through the translator, they heard him describing how the humans had saved his ship and crew. But the war fleet wasn't listening. The first attack came fast and hard. Biological weapons fire lit up space around them as the massive alien ships launched their assault. "Shields holding at 60%, Eric reported. "The medical drones are absorbing most of the impact, but they can't take much more." Sam Martinez rushed onto the bridge. "Captain, we've finished converting the surgical lasers. They're ready for defensive use." Lisa nodded. "Target their weapons only. We're not here to kill anyone." She opened a channel to the other hospital ships. "All vessels, defensive pattern Delta. Protect the civilian medical stations at all costs." The 3 hospital ships moved in perfect formation, their modified medical equipment now serving as shields and non-lethal weapons. The surgical lasers, adjusted to the lowest harmful setting, struck the war fleet's biological weapons, causing them to retract without killing the living tissue. Zextal worked with Dr. Walsh, using his knowledge of Krathak biology to help them target the most sensitive, non-lethal areas of the enemy ships. "Their sensor organs are located in these nodes," he explained, pointing to glowing spots on the ship's hulls. "A precise hit there will disorient them without causing permanent damage." The battle raged across space. The war fleet's ships were powerful, but they had never faced an enemy that refused to kill them. The hospital ship's defensive screens, made up of thousands of medical drones, created patterns that confused the biological sensors of the Krathak vessels. "Look," Eric suddenly called out. "Some of the enemy ships, they're holding back. They're watching what we're doing." He was right. Several of the war fleet vessels had stopped attacking. Their crews were observing how the humans fought, or rather, how they chose not to fight, using only defensive measures and non-lethal deterrents. Lisa saw her chance. "Broadcast everything," she ordered. "Show them our medical logs, our rescue missions, every species we've helped. Let them see what we really do out here." The Mercy Aya's communication arrays lit up, sending out years of medical records. They showed humans healing not just their own kind, but any species that asked for help. The records included the recent rescue of Zextal's ship, proving that their help extended even to those who had attacked them. More Krathak ships began to hold their fire. The war fleet's perfect formation started to break up as individual commanders watched the evidence of human medical aid spreading across their communication channels. "It's working," Sam said quietly. "They're beginning to understand." But the battle wasn't over. The war fleet's flagship, a massive living vessel that seemed to pulse with angry red energy, moved forward. It was clear that some of the Krathak weren't ready to accept the truth about human medicine. And as the flagship prepared to fire its main weapons, Lisa knew that the real test of their principles was about to begin. The first sign of trouble wasn't the weapons fire or the attacking ships. It was a change in color. The living hulls of the Galactic War fleet vessels began turning a sickly green, spreading from ship to ship like a wave. Dr. Walsh, Lieutenant John Carter, called from his station. "You need to see these readings. Something's wrong with their ships." Peter rushed to the console, his face growing pale as he studied the data. "It's some kind of biological chain reaction. Their weapons fire must have mutated the living tissue of their ships. It's spreading like a virus." Captain Lisa Murphy watched through the main viewport as more Galactic ships began showing signs of infection. Even the massive flagship's hull was starting to change color, its angry red pulse becoming weaker. "They're all connected," Sub-Commander Zextal explained, his scales turning gray with fear. "Our ships share the same biological foundation. What affects one can spread to all." Emergency signals began broadcasting from the Galactic fleet. Ships were losing power as their living systems struggled against the infection. The mighty war fleet, which had seemed unstoppable minutes ago, was now fighting for survival. Sam Martinez looked up from his medical scanner. "The infection is attacking their ship's ability to regenerate. Without treatment, the entire fleet could die within hours." Lisa stood up from her command chair. "Then we'll save them. All of them." She turned to her crew. "This is what we've trained for. This is why we're out here." "But Captain," Eric Collins protested, "they were just trying to destroy us. And now they need our help." Lisa said firmly, "That's all that matters." The captain quickly organized her crew. The Mercy I's shuttle bays were converted into massive treatment centers. Dr. Walsh and his medical team worked with Zextal to understand how to fight the infection in the living ships. "We'll need to adapt our treatments," Peter explained to his staff. "These ships aren't just vessels. They're living beings. We need to think of this as a massive epidemic." Lieutenant Carter led a team of medical technicians in their spacesuits, traveling from ship to ship. They set up portable treatment stations, using modified medical equipment to fight the infection. The Galactic crews, too sick to resist, watched in amazement as their former enemies worked to save them. "The flagship's critical," Sam reported after checking another set of readings. "Its systems are failing faster than the others. We need to do something now." Lisa made a bold decision. "We're going to convert their carrier into a hospital ship." She looked at her crew. "We have the equipment. We have the knowledge. We can do this." The next few hours were intense. Human medical teams worked alongside recovering Galactic crew members. They transformed the vast chambers of a Galactic carrier into emergency treatment wards. The ship's living tissues, which had been adapted for war, were now being repurposed to help heal its own kind. "Look at this," Peter said, showing Lisa a scan of the treated areas. "They're living technology. It's actually learning from our medical procedures. The ship is creating new structures based on our treatment methods." The infection had spread to nearly every ship in the war fleet, but now they had a fighting chance. The converted carrier, its hull slowly changing from military red to a softer, healing blue, became the center of their efforts. Sam worked with Galactic engineers, teaching them how to maintain the new medical systems. "They're quick learners," he told Lisa. "Some of them are already suggesting improvements to our methods." Through the viewport, they could see more hospital ships arriving from Earth, coming to help with the crisis. The Galactic ships, once arranged in attack formation, now floated in peaceful clusters around the treatment centers. "I never imagined," Zextal said, watching human and Galactic medical teams working together, "that our greatest defeat would come not from weapons, but from witnessing true healing." The battle had become a rescue mission, and as Lisa watched her crew work tirelessly to save their former enemies, she knew that this was a victory greater than any they could have won through force. 6 months after the Great Space Battle, Captain Lisa Murphy stood in the observation deck of the new Galactic Human Medical Research Station. Through the large windows, she could see the USNS Mercy I floating nearby, its white hull gleaming in the starlight. Next to it was something that would have seemed impossible just months ago, a Galactic medical ship. "The living hull is adapting well to its new purpose," Dr. Peter Walsh said. joining her at the window. They've managed to grow specialized healing chambers throughout the entire vessel. The Kruthic medical ship's hull pulsed with a gentle blue light, so different from the angry red of their former war vessels. Its organic technology had been completely repurposed for healing, creating something entirely new in the process. Sub-Commander Zextel's report just came in, Sam Martinez said, walking onto the deck with a datapad. The first group of Kruthic medical students has completed their training. They're ready to start their practice. Lisa smiled, remembering how far they had come. After the pandemic that had swept through the war fleet, everything had changed. The Kruthic, who had once seen medicine as a corruption of nature, had witnessed firsthand the power of healing. Captain, Lieutenant Eric Collins called from his new station at the research center. The Earth Medical Council is ready for the ceremony. They're waiting for your signal. Lisa nodded and straightened her uniform. Today was important. The official opening of the first joint human Kruthic medical school. The observation deck began filling with people from both species. Humans in their medical uniforms stood next to Kruthic in their ceremonial scales, all gathered to witness history. Zextel, now the head of the Kruthic Medical Initiative, stepped forward. His scales shimmered with proud blue and gold colors. 6 months ago, we came to destroy what we didn't understand, he said, his words translated for everyone to hear. Instead, we learned the true meaning of healing. The ceremony was simple but meaningful. They watched as the first class of Kruthic doctors took their oaths, promising to use their natural healing abilities alongside human medical knowledge to help all species who needed care. Look at that, John Carter whispered to Sam, pointing out the window. The Kruthic medical ship was changing color in response to the ceremony, its hull rippling with patterns of blue and white that matched the Earth hospital ships nearby. Peter turned to Lisa. Did you ever think, when they first attacked us, that it would end like this? She shook her head. Not in a million years. But that's the thing about healing. It can change everything it touches. After the ceremony, Lisa walked through the research station's halls. The walls were a combination of human technology and living Kruthic tissue, working together in perfect harmony. In the treatment rooms, human doctors worked alongside Kruthic healers, each learning from the other's methods. She passed the training center where Sand was teaching a group of young Kruthic how to use human medical equipment. In another room, Kruthic scientists were showing human researchers how to work with living tissue to create new types of medical technology. Captain, Eric called, catching up to her. We just received word from Earth. They've approved the expansion project. 10 more joint medical stations will be built in the next year. The news filled her with hope. What had started as a war had become something amazing, a way to combine the best of both species' abilities to help others. Lisa made her way back to the observation deck. The space around the station was filled with ships coming and going, hospital ships, research vessels, and transport ships from dozens of different species. All of them were here to learn, to heal, and to work together. As she watched a new group of ships arrive for medical training, she thought about how fear of the unknown had almost destroyed both sides. But in the end, the simple act of helping others had proven stronger than any weapon. The Kruthic medical ship's hull pulsed with a bright, healing light, matching the rhythm of the station's systems. It was a reminder that sometimes the greatest victories come not from fighting, but from learning to work together to make the universe a better place.